Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Friday, August the 23rd. I also want to start off by mentioning that I've moved the date for the upcoming meetup. It was going to be on Saturday. I've moved it to Sunday. The weather looks a little better for Sunday. The other option would have been just to cancel it altogether. But for people who are coming out on Saturday, hopefully you can come out on Sunday. And if not, I intend to have one the following week as well. We're running out of weeks now in the off season where I can have meetups. So yeah, we'll probably have time for, I want to say, like three more, including this weekend. And then after that, once we get into the regular season, weekends get pretty full, and I can't see having one during the week being very well attended. So at any rate, yeah, hopefully you can come out for that. So the AHL making news today, their Board of Governors voting unanimously to make the neck protection, the cut-resistant neck protection, mandatory. We've seen players picking that up over the last year. And in the AHL, pretty high percentage. It feels like there was more AHL players wearing it anyways than NHL players. That neck protection has got a lot more comfortable for players over the last couple of years as well. There's been a lot of advances in that technology. So I know people are going to say, oh, it's rare and it's unlikely, what are the odds? But still, it's a safety thing. And from my experience at previous workplaces, I remember somebody got hit in the head at an old job of mine, and it was something stupid they did, and I was like, well, they should know better. All of us had helmets the following week, and I was like, ah. So I was ticked off because we all had to wear helmets because one person did something they shouldn't have. But yeah, those helmets, as far as I know, are still there, and that's over 20 years ago. So yeah, once you see that protection come in, it normally doesn't go away. We'll see if the NHL follows suit. We'll see if the ECHL at some point follows suit. But at this point, it's the AHL of those three leagues that has mandated that. So again, safety is just it's something that absolutely a league can put in place because while we see it as a game and something fun, it is a workplace and they spend a lot of money on these players, and so making them as safe as possible is important. Getting into other news, Rucker McGroarty signs his entry-level contract, $950,000 cap hit. But what's interesting is that, and I still think McGroarty is the better of the two players between he and Yager. I really like McGroarty's game. I remember the sheets that I was reading through from, or the notes I was reading through from scouts, and I really like the sound of McGroarty. It's too bad it didn't work out in Winnipeg. Hopefully it does in Pittsburgh. Now, they're excited to have Yager in Winnipeg because he's a Prairie boy, so that could work out well for both teams, and ideally that's what you want. I've seen people complaining, oh, I hope he never makes it because he didn't sign with the team that originally drafted him. But Adam Fox didn't. Fox bounced through two different organizations. Lindros is the most famous one that didn't. There are a lot of players who don't sign with the team that drafted them. Very often they have pretty good NHL careers. Now, Kevin Cheveldayoff didn't throw McGroarty under the bus when he exits. So he was saying that there was no reason given, that just basically he will not sign here. So there was a lot of reports about he's demanding an immediate job in the NHL. He's got attitude problems. I didn't hear any of this from Cheveldayoff. He's saying that he said he just didn't feel right, was the message that his agent gave to him. And then a few days later, they talked to Rucker as well, and he said the same thing. It just didn't feel right. He'd been around the team. He'd been, through practices and whatnot, and he didn't want to sign in Winnipeg. And that's okay. That's something players are allowed to do. They're allowed to not sign. There's guys who've re-entered the draft. There are players who have been traded before they'll sign contract. It's not a huge deal. And so for the Winnipeg Jets, what this also does is it shifts now their focus to Cole Perfetti. They need to re-sign restricted free agent Cole Perfetti. Apparently those talks are ongoing, but now that McGroarty's out of the way, that distraction's gone. Now they can put all their energy towards Perfetti and hopefully get him signed before training camp. There are a lot of restricted free agents still there. Obviously for Detroit, you've got Raymond and you got Sider. So yeah, we'll see. In St. Louis, there seems to be some excitement right now. Blues players are excited about the offer sheets. The reason being, and Robert Thomas saying it's really exciting to be part of the Blues right now. Jordan Binnington saying it's nice to have management fighting for the team and showing they have some faith in the team. And so they're seeing this as a win, that they get Broberg, they get Holloway, and that General Manager Armstrong has shown that he has faith in these players and in this team, that he can add a couple of guys. So I've seen people saying, oh, the cap hit's too high and it's not justifiable. The cap hit has to be high if you're going to steal those players. Armstrong also saying he wasn't aware he wasn't allowed to sign offer sheets, and there's no like handbook saying GMs aren't allowed. And I will agree, and I've said this for years, I don't think offer sheets should be demonized the way that they have been in the NHL, basically since they came into existence. I think it's a good tactic. I think it works for a player because he gets the contract he's looking for. If you steal said player, it works for the team that signs the offer sheet, and if you don't. So going back to Montreal signing Sebastian Aho, Carolina matches. It worked out pretty well for Carolina. Aho gets the money from Montreal, but then the contract's matched by Carolina, so Carolina ultimately pays it out, and he's still there. So it absolutely is something that's demonized. I'm not sure why. I don't know how much of that is because of the Dustin Penner one back in the day and Brian Burke's reaction. But anyways, there you go. The St. Louis Blues are excited about this upcoming season, and there definitely does seem to be an opening potentially there in the Central for somebody to move up. But yeah, St. Louis might be that team. In Columbus, and I've talked about Columbus before, this idea that Columbus has never really been a true contender. They've never felt like a true contender for the Stanley Cup. And Don Waddell saying losing was acceptable for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it's not acceptable now. That with him taking over, he is not accepting losing. And that's something you want to hear if you're a fan of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I've said that for years. I've wanted to see Columbus, for lack of a better term, just be more relevant. And a team that you can talk about with a really bright future and a pretty good present. And maybe talk about, could Columbus win a Stanley Cup in 3 years, 5 years, something like that. So, at the very least, Don Waddell saying all the right things. He did get the Laine trade done, did not retain salary there. I think it was a smart move by Columbus and Montreal on that one. So far, I think Don Waddell's done a good job of at least changing the mentality a little bit. We'll see if the players on the ice respond to that this season. Cam Neely, as Swayman's still not signed, Neely's confident he's going to get signed. And here's the problem, though. So now we got Swayman saying, I'm confident it's going to happen. No problem. And there's word, too, that Seth Jarvis and the Canes are close on a deal that could be 8 years and a lot of money because Seth Jarvis is a good young star forward. But with Swayman, it's clear because every time we get these reports that things should get done, the reports are the team does not agree with the player or the agent on the term or the cap hit, and they're not close. So everybody's saying the right things, and yes, one phone call can change everything, but it feels like going into training camp, Swayman may not be in Boston's training camp. And if Korpisalo is going to be their starting goaltender, I just feel like, in Vancouver, there's rumblings about Demko and whether or not he's going to be healthy to start the season, and so that'd leave the Canucks with Shilovs as the starter. I might be having myself a bit of a season because, see, last year, Boston, Vancouver, and Dallas were all leading their division with a week left. Boston didn't hold the division, of course. They lost that to Florida. But I feel like the hockey gods might just take that away from me. So maybe Swayman does hold out into the regular season. Boston goes with Korpisalo as the starter. Maybe Demko does end up still being injured and unable to start the season. And maybe after what was a great regular season of watching hockey, maybe I'll have a little more frustration this season. So anyways, apparently Swayman, Neely, anybody around the Boston organization really super duper confident publicly that they're going to get Swayman signed. But I do wonder how they actually feel behind the scenes. But yeah, so there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. We're only, 3 weeks from training camp? So, yeah, these restricted free agents, guys like Sider and Raymond and Detroit being obvious ones too, still not being signed. At some point in time, it's got to happen, right? Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.